My topic is New Year's resolutions. Now, I know we've done this topic before. We've talked
But
about
it's a new
whether or not-
year.
It's a tradition.
Well, we've talked about whether or not we like New Year's resolutions. I want us to set New Year's resolutions because if I'm not mistaken, all of us hate the idea of having a New Year's resolution. Yeah. But what's interesting is I thought back to last year, right? And I had written myself a little bit of a bucket list. I was trying to remember it right now. I forgot it's on my computer, not on my phone. Now, my bucket list included things like losing weight, which it always does, because that's the number one big thing for me. Being more fit, working out, yada, yada, yada. It also included going back to jiu-jitsu, amongst some other things that were on there as well. And so I thought it was interesting. I'm like, this is a new year. It's a great time to actually evaluate and bring this to the group. What is one thing that you guys want to accomplish this year that you have yet to do? And I don't want to put you on the spot. If you don't want to do this, you don't have to. But I just think it's cool to have some, like for me personally, I've noticed that having some level of accountability really does help. For instance, when we talked about jiu-jitsu a long time ago in relation to my claustrophobia, we talked about checking back in 6 months later, which has actually helped me go back to it over and over again. And I'm happy to say that initial goal of mine, which was to get that first little stripe on my white belt, I have achieved, which is cool. So it's a very small gain, but most big things happen in small increments, which is great.
It's yellow, right?
It's not yellow.
No?
No, just a little. The belts in jiu-jitsu is different.
Oh, okay.
You go white, blue, purple, brown, black.
Oh,
but
okay.
Each belt has a stripe that goes on it. You get 4 stripes, and you.
Right. I remember when I took Taekwondo, I got a yellow thing on my white belt.
Oh, really?
I think that was as far as I got.
Yeah, it depends. It's different systems had different things.
You're like, yeah, I'm done. It's good enough. I've progressed.
Well, it's ironically when I did Kempo, I did Kempo Kung Fu for when I was like I think 12 or 13, which is where the shadow boxing came from. I got up to purple belt, which was I went white, yellow. I want to say purple was next. It was the third belt in, which was super easy to get. It was like 6 months. It was one of those things where it was like, if he goes for 8 months, he can get his green belt. My mom's like, I only want to pay for the purple belt, right? Jiu-jitsu is not like that. You actually have to earn the belts in this specific system. So purple belt's really fucking hard to get. And like, if you're a purple belt, you've put at least 3 years probably into that.
And you look dope.
And he looks dope as shit. So that's ultimately my next goal is obviously to keep progressing in jiu-jitsu and try to get my blue belt, which hopefully if I go consistently this year will happen by the end of the year. But I wanted to ask you guys before I continue with my resolutions, what if you guys have anything like that you're like, I've always wanted to do this, but I've never really had a reason to want to do it. Now is the time to talk to the audience and hold yourself accountable for it. No, I don't know why I'm looking at you. I locked eyes with those baby blues. I couldn't get away from them for a second. That's what happens. I can talk to you guys about some of the things that were on my list last year that I didn't achieve. If you want,
I mean, I have one. I mean,
give it to me.
Announce it is that I'm going to write my book, and it's one of those things where I write a lot for fun outside of what we do. Used to write a lot of nonfiction. That was what I was very well known for at IGN was big long form pieces. But I have a very acute passion for fiction and I love Ray Bradbury and like a lot of kind of more retro sci-fi stuff, and I love a lot of dystopian things, and I love my Tom Clancy techno thrillers and all that kind of stuff, and then some classics, your Dickens and all that. R.L. Stine, a big R.L. Stine fan. I actually read like the first 10 Goosebumps books when I was a kid. I think I was actually a little too old for them. I was probably like 12 or 13.
I'll be honest, I really liked the movie.
But
Jack Black makes an awesome R.L. Stine.
So I've been writing these like short stories and like these kind of throwaway ideas, and I just write ideas in a book. And I'm really into like The Road is really probably my favorite book of all time. And
Jesus, that says a lot about you.
Yeah, I mean, I love Cormac McCarthy's an amazing writer, and I really enjoy that book. And then I like some other the historical fiction stuff, the Gore Vidal kind of shit. Like so, like there's a lot of different things, but it's very political centered, and I like the like kind of dystopian and political and kind of like when we talk about The Walking Dead, I'm like I don't give a fuck about these zombies. I want to know what happened. Like where's the government and why did this happen? Like that's interesting stuff to me. So. In writing all of these little stories, like I wrote one story about a guy who's coming out of maybe I'll share it with you guys one day, but I wrote this short story about a guy who was in a fallout shelter, and he comes out after 3 months to find that nothing had happened, but everyone's gone. And I couldn't figure out how to, I was like, this is just a very short Ray Bradbury-esque story because it's like a Twilight Zone episode. There's no like beginning, middle, end. But then I stumbled upon this idea that I was like a full-fledged, like what in my mind I see as a trilogy. And I think the idea, and I'm not going to share with anyone right now, but I think the idea is fucking awesome. Like I really do. I'm super proud of the actual idea. And then I started writing a little bit. And then when I was in Mexico, I really started fleshing it out. Just sitting on the balcony and typing away and writing and like in a notebook or whatever. And then I'm like, I look back and I'm like, and just, there's not too much written compared to what's going to be written, but the ideas and the characters and all these kinds of things and the focal point and the juxtapositions of the fiction and how I think it turns a lot of things on its head, I think I'm really proud of. And one of the things I always wanted to do is write a book. And I've had those opportunities in the past to do that, whether independently or with a publisher. And I've just not been able to execute on those, mostly because of time. And so I'm going to write my book my way. And I hope to have something to show to people close to me in the middle of the year, not the full thing, but maybe a couple chapters or whatever that I'm comfortable showing or whatever. And I really want to pursue that this year because I think that as the years pass and the years go on, I can keep being like, well, I wish that I could do this. But the fact is that I actually can. I'm not great at a lot of things, but I'm a talented writer. And I know that, and I'm proud of that. And I worked really hard at that my whole life, and I should use it. You know, it's not too important anymore to what we do now, but there's a piece of me to it. Like
Sure.
there's a piece of me there that I'm like, this is important. And maybe it won't do well, maybe it won't pay off. I don't care, but like I want to do it. And I actually think the idea is great enough where I think it could be big. And so that's my goal this year. I'm not going to set these last year I think I talked about being happy or having a better disposition about the things going on around me. And I think I've managed to succeed that largely. I think 2016, a lot of people have been talking about 2016 as being this really negative thing for them. And I look back and I'm like, it wasn't really that bad for me at all. Actually, it was extremely positive in a lot of ways. And so this year I want to focus that down and just be like, this is the thing I want to do in my spare time when I have a moment to sit with my laptop or sit with a notebook and just figure this out and get there and then get the 50 and 100 and 200 and 300 pages down.
Yeah.
And, you know, I know great people in that write. I know people at publishers that I could certainly work with, but I also know great writers. One of the great people that's encouraging me is Blake Harris, who's a friend of ours who wrote Console Wars and is writing a book about VR right now that comes out next year that I actually got to read a little bit of, and it's awesome. And, you know, he's been really encouraging, texting me being like, the world needs you to write. There's a little bit something missing without you writing, like just encouraging me and pushing me. And I'm like, you're fucking right. And I appreciate that, especially from someone like him, who's like a best-selling author, you know? So it's been very inspiring for me, and I hope to do that this year. So that's my goal.
Very cool. Greg, Tim, any goals? And again, you don't have to have them.
I feel like I just don't have. I don't like the New Year's resolution thing, just because I don't like the idea of like, at this time because of this I'm going to do stuff. I'm more of like
Sure.
I always just have the goals going.
Of course.
And I just feel like whenever I do add the things, it's less goals and more dreams. It's like New Year's dream resolutions of just like, yeah, I want to make like more fun comedy videos, and I want to make rap videos, and I want to do all that stuff. It's like, that's not going to happen until I just do it. And it's like, I don't feel like I'm in a position to do that yet. So It's like, that's the type of stuff that I don't really want to talk about. But I do think that my goal is to just continue to keep going in the direction I'm going. And because I think it's working. And I think that what we're doing and building is just becoming more and more rewarding and allowing me to feel like every day that I get to say my job is to do what I want to do, I like that. And I just feel like it's going to allow me to eventually get to a point that I'm truly doing the things that I like dream to do, but I don't think I'm there yet. And I think that my goal is to kind of get a lot farther towards that. Which sounds super backwards and like empty.
No,
but
I
it's just like, I don't know. It's just like, I just feel like there's a lot of steps left. So
Gotcha.
my goal is to take more steps.
Got it.
It's a process.
Yeah.
Skate better.
Greg,
Skate
anything?
better.
I mean, I guess try to stay in the mindset I'm in now. I feel like, you know, towards the end of the year there, we were getting punched around a bit, and it was rough, and it was and it was like weighing down on me, you know what I mean? And like, I'm always a guy to take all of this too seriously in terms of like feeling like I'm letting us down, letting one of us down, not living up to what I need to be doing, that kind of thing. You know what I mean? But then like today, when you're coming off of 2 weeks of vacation and today's an awesome day, and you like, you know, Kind of Funny Live 2, the video is like, don't take this the wrong way, something that I could have really used when we were getting the shit kicked out of us at the end of the year, right? Even whether it's people being mean on the internet or us getting in an argument about something or whatever, where you watch that and you're like, holy fucking shit. Like, I forgot how special this day was and how awesome this night was and what this is, what we really are as a community and and like, so today has been that thing, like we were talking in the kitchen, right? Of just like, whatever. If it's broken, it's broken. And like, yeah, the Patreon tiers, I would have loved to have that. If there, like when we did year one, Kind of Funny, like day one, Kind of Funny, and the first year anniversary, I had all the switches flip and I was like freaking out and I felt the tension. And like today I woke up at 6:45 and came to the office early and edited that video and wrote all the text we needed to write. But it was like, if it didn't get done, it wasn't gonna be the end of the world, and it wasn't gonna let you guys down and it wasn't gonna let them down. I just need to take that breath and understand that, right? And I think that coming back out of the holidays and being recharged, I am back to where I like being, where I'm very positive and very supportive and very trying to lift myself up, us up, people up, you know what I mean? And not letting, if somebody's been mean to me or if I like not trying to take too seriously a comment or this, that, the other. Cause like at the end there, when you're just like, that the wall's down and like, then anybody says anything to you, it's just like, fuck off.
That's Joey's job now.
Exactly. I don't even mean just the community. I mean, I'm talking about anyone, whether it's us, whether it's like my family, when it's anything, you're just like, fuck off. Everybody fuck off right now.
Yeah, I hear you. I feel you. I feel like the end of the year was hard in some ways, and I certainly let it get to me too. But I think the vacation provided a little bit of context and a little bit of peace. I think for maybe all of us in a way, and certainly for me, because it's easy, you know, it's easy to, you know, PSX was actually a really great wake up call for me in the sense that, you know, I was getting a little bit morose with, you know, like the internet can turn on you in a moment for no reason, and then it becomes, and I use that term very lightly, the internet, because I'll talk about that in a second, and it becomes like a self-fulfilling narrative, right? And you're like, well, wow, everyone hates everything I do now and everything I say, and then you're like, no, it's like the same 15 people on NeoGAF. It really isn't like anyone. It's the same, literally the same 15 people just bitching about everything that's happening. It's not everybody. You have hundreds of thousands of people that like you. When I went to PSX, it was like meeting hundreds of people that were so happy to be there and so honored to meet us. It reminds me of when I was at GameStop Expo and that girl just started crying.
Yeah.
She like, and I was, you know, she was able to meet us and we signed her Vita and stuff. And I'm like, I don't need this kind of self-congratulatory shit to make me feel good. I just need this context every once in a while that like a reminder, exactly, that we touch lives and that the same people whining and bitching about everything you do over and over again, they are just a small group of people. It doesn't matter. You know, like people have valid criticisms. That's why I put up the pilot episodes and Tim and I were talking about it. He's like, I remember Tim was like, just remember that people are being more negative than usual because you asked them to be. And I'm like, I know. And that's why I was taking it in, because I wanted to see. And each episode was edited as a reflection of the things people were saying, to the point where we got the episode out today and everyone's like, this is much better than the pilots. And I'm like, well, I know, because I've actually been listening to you, because it's constructive. But the non-constructive, mean-spirited kind of like just made up bullshit, you know?
Yeah.
Like, how many times are people going to tell me that like I didn't play any games, or I played games for an hour? I'm like, I played 70 games last year. You know, like
that's just 70 hours.
That's only 70 hours of 70 games. but it reminds me, and I've said it before, about what my father said to me when I was younger that really mattered to me. Where he's like, the truth is like is real. It's an objective fact, and if you know that it's true, then that's all that matters. Like people can spin their wheels. Exactly, people can spin their wheels all they want, and so that particular end of the year context that I got from PSX, that we got late summer, early autumn with GameStop Expo, that we get with the positivity flooded, or PAX, we get the flooded towards us with the positive tweets and a lot of the positive YouTube comments. It's hard to look past, you know, a thread on a forum that's beating you up until you realize literally it's just the same 10 people just patting themselves on the back, and you have 1,000 thumbs up to 50 thumbs down on a video, and a lot of people don't say anything and they just watch and they drive by, like we do with so much content.
We preach so much about the vocal minority, but it's so hard to block it out.
It is very difficult to block it out, and it gets you down, especially when you work and try so hard. And so I really needed that, and I understand what you're saying, because I think we all felt that way towards the end of the year when things started to really kind of, I don't want to say the wheels were starting to fall off, but it felt like that sometimes, where I'm like, what the fuck's happening?
We were just afraid.
Yeah.
It felt like we were unraveling to an extent of just like, you couldn't get away from it. You know what I mean? And I think it was turning us against each other in a lot of ways. Not like truly against each other, but like where we were way more snippy and get the fuck away from me. And
right.
Blah, blah, blah.
And that's the way it goes. But when you go to PSX and there's a line a fucking mile long to meet you, and everyone's like, they're literally honored to meet you. They want you to sign things. They want to hug you. They want to thank you for getting me through this and this. I'm like, fuck the noise, man.
Yep.
Like, you just need that every once in a while, that like, the people that talk shit they're really just cowards, and they would never say it to your face. And I'm really reminded of that every time I go to these things. I've been doing these things for years and years, and I've met thousands and thousands of positive people. Yeah. No one's ever come up to me and been like, you're a fucking asshole, you know? Mm-hmm. Because that requires balls in your pants, and you don't have any. and that's why you type things on anonymous forums, you know? Yeah. So like, that kind of context is important, and I got it at the end of the year, just in the nick of time. And so I hear you loud.
And that's, I mean, I think the thing we take for granted is our lives are extraordinary every day, and we just don't think about it because it's normal. And for me, it was when Jen was in town and we had you over, but you at your house. But you know what I mean? You and Aaron and Gio, and it was like cool. And Gio had never seen the old studio, and I parked my bike in there, so I walk it in and out. But to walk in there with him and then have to explain that the table is here, And Kevin was there, like, I was like, holy shit. Like, it's been so long since I thought about what it was like to be shoved in that spare bedroom for a year and a half making content.
Just sweating. All of us were always just sweating constantly.
Yeah. But I'm sorry, to you, what are your resolutions and what are the ones you failed at?
I mean, I always just keep a bunch of stuff that I want to try to accomplish or try to do every year. And last year I think I didn't do 3/4 of them, but the ones that I did do, I'm happy about. This year, I've started off. I'm going deep down the rabbit hole of a ketogenic diet, which I've been on for a very long time, but I don't. It's one of those diets where you're like, you say you're on it, but then you guys see me every once in a while, like you'll just look at like you're eating pizza. You're clearly not on your diet. So this week,
I love those days.
I actually
cheat.
I've been reading a great book. I was talking about it earlier on the show. By Tim Ferriss called Tools of the Titans, and it's basically a recap of all the guests he's had on his podcast. A lot of them talk about ketogenic diets, like high-fat, low-carb diets, and there's some great resources in that book. And so I've kind of taken those to heart, studying it, and I for the first time in my life, I'm like, I'm going to make a plan. I ordered the things I thought I needed to order, making meal plans for myself. I've been shopping, buying the meats that I'm supposed to buy, like grass-fed meats, things like that, trying to get off dairy, things like that. So I want to track my progress on in that regard and see if I can't get down, because right now I'm at 190, and I haven't been 190 in a really long time. Now, granted, I've been lifting a lot too, but I feel like I can get down to 175 this year. That's my goal. So I'm going to track that progress in that. And of course, there's like ebbs and flows with that as well. But then on my bucket list as well last year was to make another short film, which I haven't done in forever. Now I'm a little bit more lax on myself on that one because we do get to do so much creative stuff here. Like I do get to do the animated show.
I was going to say, at least you launched an animated series.
Right, which is great. And that's super fun. That's awesome. But that's always on my list. I have this, I've always wanted to make a horror short for the Halloween season and do something like that. And the guys and I, Tim and I talk about it all the time.
We gotta do it, man.
I want to do that this year. That's on the list.
Can Kevin be the villain? Can he be the monster?
Kevin's the villain. No, because Kevin has to also be the hero. We can't save him,
I want him to be that or the virgin who gets killed right away.
Kevin's always the foil, but then he's also the hero.
Gotcha.
And he could be the virgin. I want to write another screenplay. I haven't finished a screenplay in a while, and I actually want to submit it this time. I've never actually tried to submit a screenplay to a production company or to agents to try to get anything like that. I don't actually care what happens beyond that. I just owe it to myself at this point. I'm 36 years old to try to do that.
Now, is this the one you and I keep talking about doing?
No, that's ours.
Okay.
That one
okay, we're not going to okay.
I've written 5 screenplays. I have 5 screenplays that are just sitting on my computer right now. Mostly terrible.
Are they all porn?
Total rubbish. No, they run the gamut of different genres, and most of them are comedy. But I look at those and I'm like, this is silly. I should just punch these up and send them out. Like the one thing that's keeping me from doing it is fear of being rejected.
Oh wow, really?
And I know I'm going to be rejected, so who cares? But I guess that's the main key in what I'm trying to say is I want to try to get in. My whole goal this year is going to be smashing that thing in me that says you get up to that cliff, don't jump off, right? And I think like that's one of the things I like about you guys is you all have that, right? You guys all have that thing like, I have an idea, I'm gonna go do this idea, right? I'm always the guy that's like, whoa, don't do that idea because here's 10 things that can happen that's bad about that idea, right? But I'm so fucking tired of being that person that I want to be the person that initiates and then activates, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
like,
no,
get out there, go do that stuff. Boom. And then the last thing on my list is doing stand-up comedy. Like I want to
Really?
I want to do a stand-up set. I've always wanted to do this.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and so my ultimate goal, start practicing now and then open for Drucker at Kind of Funny Live 3.
Love that.
That would be fun.
Wow.
That would be, that what's up?
I was just saying, just per your previous point, the comedy sounds good. Remember that you have a great example of doing it already, which is this.
Oh, I know. Trust me, I know.
So
but you remember how many cigarettes I smoked before we did this venture? I can't have that happen every time I have to make a decision this big, right? It has to be just a matter of, look, I'm going to go do this. Doesn't matter what's going to happen from it, right? It's just fun. And it's fun to practice that. And being around you guys is really inspirational for me because specifically you guys just have this thing where you're like, we can do anything, right? And I'm always maybe it's my upbringing. I don't know. Maybe it's conditioning from when I was young and grew up with a strict Italian mother who told you never to do anything. Now that I'm thinking about it, that's probably exactly
that's
why.
where it all stems from.
But I'm very risk averse. I really am. I'm still very risk averse, which is probably why it's so cathartic and so fun for me to come on podcasts and say outrageous shit and try to make people laugh. Because to me, that's me saying, "Oh, that's awesome." I tried something, it worked. I get that quick response of like, "Good." The cycle happens faster and faster. And so my question is, how do I, as individually as an artist or as a creative person, make that happen faster with bigger moments and bigger things in my life? So that's what I'm focusing on for 2017 right now.
That's great. That's all awesome stuff.
It's fun shit.
Okay.